I believe even you should know the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Well, if droids could think, Dex.
Hello there, I'm Darren.
And I'm Diggy.
And we're looking at the real sequels. The series of events after Episode 6 in the books, novels, and sometimes comics. Today we're opening with Chapter 11.
Yeah, so in Chapter 11, Luke goes to Dagobah. Yeah. So that's about it. Thanks for joining us, guys. Yeah. Luke set off for Dagobah. So Chapter 11 opens with Luke arriving at Dagobah. And as he's like piloting his way down in his wee X-Wing, he's reminded of Yoda and the strange but tasty stew that he often made. So I was thinking, could you put like a clip from episode 5?
Yeah, I will put in a clip from episode 5 where Luke tries some nice tasty stew that has been cooked lovingly by Yoda.
Yeah.
And his reaction to that. Compared to his reaction from drinking green titty milk straight from the source. Compare and contrast.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Which one of these looks tastier? Lovingly made stew or this thing's titty milk? You be the judge.
So yeah, Luke pilots his way down and lands, and him and R2 make their way over to Yoda's hut because Luke thinks that Yoda might have left some sort of document or guide or something that can help Luke train Leia and train new Jedi. But whenever they get to the hut, it's practically gone. And Luke hasn't been here in about 5 years. And because Luke grew up in the desert, where basically buildings can last for decades because it's so dry and, there's nothing really to destroy them. But this hut in 5 years has basically been destroyed by the swamp. So Luke, he didn't even realize that would happen because he's just not used to that kind of thing. So as they're picking through the rubble, Luke asks R2 to scan for any kind of electronic equipment because he's just picking up like pots and pans. Everything's covered in mold and like rusty and stuff. And R2 actually picks up something electronic, but it's back the way they came. So they leave Yoda's hut and they head back towards their X-Wing. And Luke has this feeling, this odd sense of dread. As they get within sight of the X-Wing, R2 points nearby, and Luke looks over and he sees the cave, the one where he had the vision with Vader. So he recognizes that cave, and that's where R2 is pointing towards. And Luke, now that he sort of thinks about it, he can feel the presence of the dark side coming from the cave a lot stronger than before. And as he's making his way into the cave, he's sort of thinking, I wonder if Yoda was protecting him to some extent from this dark side presence. And obviously Yoda isn't here anymore, and that's why maybe it's stronger. So while he's in the cave, he's got his lightsaber out and he's making his way through, and as he approaches the spot where he had the vision of Darth Vader beforehand, he's getting really tense. He's kind of wondering, is something going to happen like last time? And when he reaches the spot, nothing happens, and he kind of relaxes a bit, and he's like, oh, okay, maybe because Anakin has been redeemed and stuff, maybe then that doesn't hold any power over him anymore, and so there's nothing like concrete for this place to use to give him visions. So he's feeling a bit more relaxed, and then he takes a step forward, and as he takes a step forward, pulling out his comlink to call R2, suddenly he's on a sail barge, and it's like oppressive heat beating down on him, and there's something hard like poking into his back.
You have the ring, and I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
Sorry, I'm just pausing for your inevitable comment there, Darren.
Sorry, completely immature.
Yeah.
He starts to hear the sounds of random trumpets going womp,
But yeah, like, so Luke recognizes he's on Jabba's sail barge and he's being forced into the Sarlacc pit. And as this is happening, he's saying, like, out loud, you know, I defeated this too. This has no power over me. But the vision continues, and he moves out onto the plank and steps off the edge, catches it, springs back up, and he reaches out for the lightsaber that R2 shoots out towards him from Jabba's sail barge. But instead of coming to his hand, it gets pulled down to the other end of Jabba's sail barge, and it gets caught by a woman that's standing there. And Luke, he can't really make out her face because of like the heat and stuff, but he realizes in that split second that she has the Force, and as well as that, she has just doomed him and all his friends, because now he doesn't have the lightsaber, and the vision kind of ends with all his friends like dying, and all he can make out is this woman's mocking laughter as they're all being killed, and the vision ends. He's back in the cave and he's like pouring with sweat, and R2 is beeping frantically over the comlink. So he answers that and lets R2 know that he's okay and stuff. And he continues on into the cave, and he's still kind of wary again now because that's just happened. But he continues in further, and eventually R2 signals him to say he's beside the electronic device that R2 has picked up. And Luke kind of hooks about a bit, and he finds this wee, like, nondescript cylinder, and it's got like 5 keys on it and some alien writing. But other than that, it doesn't really look like a very important thing. So he heads back out of the cave, and there's no other incidents. So he makes his way back over to R2 and the X-Wing, and he decides to leave because it's getting dark now. And he doesn't think there's going to be much more point in staying here any longer, because Yoda's hut is destroyed, and like, he doesn't want to hang about the cave anymore. And the final we scene is just them in space heading away from Dagobah, and it's Luke and R2 talking, and R2 has scanned the cylinder, and he can't really identify it. He doesn't know like what it does, and he doesn't know what the alien symbols do. But
these droids only focus on symbols. It's a little marks on the side, give it away, is it? I believe even you should know the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Well, if droids could think, Dex.
That's actually a really interesting story about IG-88, but that's for another time.
Oh, we hints and foreshadowing there, Darren. Trying to entice our viewers with potential content. So yeah, Luke and R2 are flying away, and R2 can't identify anything really about the cylinder other than he saw Lando with something that looked very similar just after Bespin. And so Luke is thinking to himself, well, Han and Leia are meant to be away from Coruscant for like 2 weeks maybe in the Bipfash system. So instead of heading straight back to Coruscant, Luke decides to go see Lando at his new rare ore mining operation on the super hot planet of Niklon. And that's where the chapter ends.
Super hot. Sexy AF. That's why in the comic he has these excellent sunglasses going on.
Who does?
We look. He's like,
Oh,
gotta get my shades on for going to Niklon.
Yeah.
Shades on, Niklon.
So we have a different kind of shark. The human kind.
I really like the foreshadowing of Mara Jade. Or should we keep that in? Is that a
Spoilers?
Well, see, that's the thing. In the comics, it literally gives you the picture of Mara Jade.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, well, I suppose it has to, but like, look at that. She's the one that catches it.
Yeah, there's no ambiguity there in the comic. It's quite clearly Mara Jade. There's very few other women, and I don't think there's any other ginger woman.
Yeah, in the entire galaxy.
Yeah, so we don't have a lot of guessing to be done here.
It's not Aura Singh, so it must be Mara Jade.
Yeah.
It's a nice way to retrace the steps. So like episode 7 did that thing of retracing the steps where it just changed the names of things and did the same movie. But this is retracing the steps in the way of you're building upon what was before. This is the first novel after episode 6 that's not a Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was the original episode 5.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that, we have to go back and honor what came before and reestablish, where we are in the universe. This is what's happened. Stuff has moved on, like Yoda's hut's gone. There's now a more powerful dark side kind of brewing on Dagobah. So much cool stuff you can really kind of get your teeth into without going too far away from what the Force is or sticking too close to what was before. It's really nice. And I'm excited to kind of go through like what happens next as well. And I mean, all roads lead to Lando.
It's a great wee novel tying everything together. It's just bringing everyone in, but it feels natural that everyone is coming together again. We're not just throwing everyone in and saying, you're all together now. We see how they get to that point. It just feels like a much more natural progression.
Well, that about wraps up this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave us a wee comment if you want to. We'll get back to you. Doogie will get back to you, as always.
You used the same joke last time, Darren.
Right now. Okay. Let us know in the comments whether it's Kubalth or Sabayoth. And if Doogie's wrong, then he has to do next week's episode shirtless.
You say that like I'm wearing a shirt now.
You're wearing your armor. And I promise this is the last video where I'll make reference to titty milk, unless it's relevant. So we'll flash up it's relevant before it happens. Because I know I've put it in at least 3 videos now. I just can't get over it. I mean, like, come on.
I think it's fine. You don't need to justify yourself to anyone.
I know, but I feel like
you do you.
It's just made me so angry. All I see is titty milk everywhere.
You've been watching some strange videos, Darren. That's what I'm going to say.
Luke drinks milk 10 hours.
Yeah.
Bye.
We'll leave you with that image.